Wow, delightful.
Sounds right.
Hello, and welcome to the casting couch. It's not an ideal couch. I added some cushions to make it not look like we'll be filming a porno here today. Let me just bring those back. Sorry for the inconvenience. But welcome to the podcast. Here we go. Okay, so, hi, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. If you're viewing this, feel free to leave a comment, leave a like, do whatever you need to do. This podcast is available here on YouTube, and that's the only place you can get it thus far. I would like to expand this podcast out to a audio podcast as well, but for now, we'll just stick with the audio visual YouTube. You can find it every week. It'll be uploaded hopefully on the same day every single week. And this is the Cringeworthy to Bingeworthy podcast. Thank you for joining me. I am your host and only ever guest, imbarrytoo. And today we will be discussing a whole host of things and a whole lot of nothing. Of course, I'm imbarrytoo. My real name is Josh. Way less enjoyable. The reason for this podcast is the same reason for my episodic weekly show. If you haven't seen that, click on anywhere, probably in the description. There might be a little card to go and view episode 1 or the playlist of that if you are watching this podcast in the future. Very similar, so I'm going to explain it again. The reason for this show, the reason why it's called Cringeworthy to Bingeworthy, is because I am an aspiring artist of kinds. I make music of all varieties, mostly hip-hop and rap music, but I would like to venture into other ventures, other genres, if you will. The reason why it's called Cringeworthy to Bingeworthy is simple. As an aspiring artist with not too many followers, right now, I am what you would describe as cringeworthy. It doesn't matter really what I do. A lot of just kind of like publicizing yourself, marketing yourself is very cringe. It feels cringe to do. It's pretty cringe to watch. And unless you kind of are watching this in retrospect and all of a sudden I'm like incredibly famous in the future time, it's pretty like hard to just watch someone just kind of struggle, just kind of like make a bunch of shit and just hope that something goes well, something goes viral. And so that's essentially what I'm doing, is just throwing a bunch of shit at a wall and hoping that some of it, any of it, sticks. I make music. I currently have an entire EP, it's 3 songs, out right now. And so I decided now is the best time to start, because what I hope that this podcast and this also the weekly series that I'm making accomplish is to show you, an average viewer, kind of the journey that it takes to go from being a nobody that makes good music. Do I make good music? You be the judge. Go stream it now. It's in the description. There's a card. Somebody that makes good music that nobody listens to all of a sudden, I don't know what the future holds. Selling out stadiums? Could be. And I think that process is something that we don't really look at a lot kind of in society, or ever really. You know, you'll see a huge artist and you'll be like, damn, they were born to be famous and born to be this massive artist. And you might hear stories of like they were discovered by this person, or they, you know, this organization helped them or signed them to this label or whatever. But you never really see the like day-to-day process, the struggle, all the hard work, all the just monotonous crap that an artist has to go through to get to where they want to be, to get to those dreams, to get to that big goal. I also understand that I live quite a privileged experience. The fact that I have the opportunity to do this. I have money in the bank, saved up, ready to go, so I can fulfill these dreams. You know, I don't have any pressing medical issues or any disabilities that might hinder my ability to actually do this. So I do understand and respect my privilege. But at the same time, it's all about not being afraid to be judged because of those things, which I don't even know if that really makes sense. I don't think it does. But the point I'm trying to make is that I understand my privilege. I respect that I have a privilege, but I'm still going to pursue this dream that I have and that I have had since I was like 3 years old, to the absolute best of my abilities. So that's kind of the synopsis of, we went a little bit off track there. It's kind of the synopsis of the reason for this podcast, the reason for my weekly show. So I hope you thoroughly enjoy those, both, this one as well. And I'm sure I'll come up with way more brilliant ideas, genius things to do and create. I always saw, this is a tangent, so prepare, strap in, seatbelt on. I always thought of myself when I was growing up not as a creative person. I couldn't draw. I was horrific at drawing. I was pretty bad at colouring in, which is kind of like a staple of being a child. And so I always thought, I'm not a very creative person. And I think in middle school, I was really good at math, not very good at English. And I just kind of assumed I was always like the analytical, sciencey math person. No creative bones in my body. But then I like discovered rap music in like 2009. Obviously I didn't discover it. I'm not a fucking explorer. I didn't discover it. It didn't like not exist before, or it like existed but only, you know what I'm saying. I found rap music in 2009, and I was absolutely hooked from the moment I heard it. Like I just fell in love with it. By about 2012, I was making my own songs. Absolutely horrific. Anyway, the point is, I always thought I wasn't a creative person, and then I recognized that I not necessarily had become one, but I understood my level of creativity and how I think about art and different sorts of things. And then, you know, I had this idea for imbarrytoo, which is me. I'm imbarrytoo. If you don't understand why that is, I'll explain that in a second. Let me finish my creative thought. But then I started thinking about like, okay, I'm going to go on this musical journey. I'm going to try and, you know, get to where I want to be. But I would hit roadblocks pretty early. I was like, okay, I feel like I've exhausted all of my creative ideas. I've made this TikTok, I've made this Instagram post, blah, 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 blah. But then it seems like every single night now when I'm going to sleep, I can't get to sleep because I'm having another like creative epiphany, essentially. And that is fantastic. I actually love that. I'm genuinely going to put a piece of paper and a pen next to my bed so that I can quickly jot down the ideas that I'm having as I'm falling asleep. Because every time I think I've like exhausted all my ideas or I've not come up with any good ideas, it just seems like every night I'm coming up with something, a new way to do something, a new thing to think of or craft or create. And so I kind of take that as an understanding of I know that I can do this in terms of like, you know, reaching my creative goals. It's just a case of putting in the work. I just have to work really freaking hard. And so another reason why I like this podcast and the weekly show is that it forces me to actually go and do things, to actually like talk to you and create content and be making things so that when I have these big creative ideas of things I want to do, I actually go and freaking do them. And so, because I have a reason, I have things to talk about on this show and then I have things to show you during the week. So I think that's really cool. I think that's really interesting. I'm just talking about myself as if I'm interesting. What a vain person I am. The reason why that is actually interesting is because if you've heard the second song on my EP, it's called Depression. And I've struggled with depression for on and off for a long time, since I was about 14, 15 years old. Last year, the very end of last year, probably August, September, all the way to like January of this year, I had a really bad bout of depression and anxiety and all the things else that came with it. And an interesting thing was I used to not be able to fall asleep because I was just lying awake, just hating myself, loathing myself, kind of thinking about what a piece of human shit I am. And the contrast now between that and having that memory, like that's a pretty vivid memory, to laying awake now every night, not necessarily hating myself, but like dreaming or kind of daydreaming as I'm trying to go to sleep, of what the future is going to look like in terms of all of these creative ideas that I'm having. And so it's a really cool juxtaposition that I have found my life in, where I still can't freaking get to sleep. But it's now like a good thing. And I hope that the creative ideas keep just absolutely buzzing around the head. I love listening to just random podcasts or like watching random shows, because they always generate weird ideas in my head. And so I think that breeds my creativity as well, which hopefully this podcast can kind of do the same thing for you. Maybe I talk about something creative that I'm doing and you go, oh, I can do that, or I can do that better, or I can do that similar and different. So there is purpose to this freaking podcast. It's not just a way for me to get my words per minute up every day, although I'm filming it once a week. So with all that being said, I haven't forgotten. I want to get back to the meaning of Barry2, my name. I used to be, and if you have subscribed to my Barry2 YouTube channel, you'll find very quickly that if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll find videos under the pseudonym of 2D, meaning, of course, two-dimensional. And that used to be my artist name, my rapper name, back in, pretty much it stopped as of 2020. So between 2012 and 2020, I went as 2D. It was a nickname that I had at high school because I weigh about 120 pounds and I turn sideways and I disappear. So people started calling me 2D. Instead of kind of taking it as bullying, I kind of embraced it and it became this whole thing. Anyway, I was a super popular kid in high school. And that was my old pseudonym. So the 2 from Barry2 is kind of a callback to 2D, but it has bigger meaning. My middle name is Barry, that's why it's Barry2. But my grandfather's middle name, who's no longer with us, God bless his soul, his middle name was also Barry. And so I'm kind of like Barry II, or Barry2, if you will, because he was known as Barry, and I would like to now be known as Barry instead of insert my name, Josh, disgusting, anymore. And so I think Barry2 is awesome. It's got a good SEO. It looks really cool, the Barry II. There's lots of little elements to it. That's the meaning of my name. I really like it. I think it's different. I think it's unique. And also, you just don't really expect that many Barrys in the world to be looking like me. So there's the kind of the origin of my name. What's the word I'm looking for? So that's kind of the etymology of my name. Super interesting. You might not care, but that's totally fine. So we've discussed kind of the purpose of this podcast, the purpose of my weekly show, what Cringeworthy to Bingeworthy means and why it's named that. I also think it just looks cool. C2B. This will be called the C2B podcast. If you're wondering what C2B is, it's Cringeworthy to Bingeworthy. It's got the 2 in the middle instead of TO. Obviously, Barry2. You get it. You're smart. I'm not. I would like to discuss now, though, kind of the future of me and me as an artist. I've obviously just put out my EP literally last Friday, it dropped 3 songs. They're all really personal, but all absolute bangers. And if you haven't heard them, I encourage you so strongly to go and listen to them. It's 13 minutes and 45 odd seconds of your life that you will not want back. I don't know, you'll like it. You'll enjoy it. It's different. It's definitely not for everyone, and I understand that. The third song, called My Time, is an absolute classic. It's a banger. And so you should stream the shit out of that, because that is for everyone. You can listen to that in the gym, you can listen to that before you go out and play sport, you can listen to that like before you go do something important like a job interview, you can just listen to it when you're in the shower or before you go to bed or when you wake up. Like, it's literally all time. And it's called My Time. And the other 2 songs are quite heartfelt. Obviously the second one's called Depression. You don't really expect sunshines and rainbows from that. The first one's called Closet, and it's quite a confronting story as well. Again, I implore you to go and listen to those. Please listen to them. It's 13 and a half minutes of your life that you'll thank me for. Again, you can just kind of like, just listen to one, come back, listen to another, come back, listen to the third. Do whatever you want. I mean, don't listen to them. Who cares? Really? But if you've gotten this far in the podcast, you've probably heard them. So we're just going to assume you've heard them. If you haven't, go for your life. But from now, I'm going to start working on a brand new project. It's called Villain. It's an album that I want to be able to pitch to record labels. So I'm going to start working on a bunch of demos for this album so that I can pitch them to a record label. Be like, hey, here's 10 songs that are going to be on this album. I've got an idea for another 17. I genuinely have 27 song ideas written down for this album. Obviously, it's not going to have that many. And I can kind of pitch this demo to a record label, and they can be like, yep, you're awesome, let's sign you, and we can kind of go from there. So I'm going to start working on those demos very shortly. I think next week I'm going to start working on those demos. The first song I'm going to start working on, currently in my head, it's called Love Letters. I have no idea if the name will stay that, but that's probably the first song I'm going to start working on. I'm really excited to do that. It's going to be next week. If you would like to follow along with that process, because I'm actually going to make those songs live. Not live as like in front of people, but live on TikTok Live. If you would like to do that, follow me on TikTok and you'll get a notification every time I go live. It'll probably be every evening, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So whatever that is for you, you can figure it out. I'm not going to hold your hand through everything, but that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing all of my energy on. Well, not all of my energy, but a third of my energy on in the coming weeks, months, whatever else. I hope that we get a lot of people following along with this process, and it's going to kind of be one of those things where you want to keep hanging around, Like, you're going to want to be there every night or be there once a week so that you get to listen to the whole process of a song being made and not just listen to the end product, because it's different. It's way different. You'll listen to a song when it's being made, and you'll kind of like understand the concept of what the vision is, what is meant to happen, all the moving pieces. It's going to sound bad. It's going to sound really good. It's going to be like, it's just a whole bunch of moving pieces, and you're going to want to be there for it, because I'm super freaking excited to do it. And you kind of just get to be there for the process. It's another reason, I'm just kind of giving you reasons to be there. Again, if you're this far into the podcast, you'll probably want to be there. But everybody always wants to be the person that's kind of like first to something, or discover something before it was mainstream. You hear about investors all the time wanting to invest in companies before, obviously, they blow up. Not in terms of negative blow up, but positive blow up. As in, you want to invest in a company that's worth $10,000 for when they become $1 billion company, so that you investment, blah, blah, blah. Think of me as a really good investment in the early stages. That's just all I'm going to say on that. You can do the rest of the hurdles in that topic. Another percentage of my time, go and listen to it, that I'm going to spend doing is on performing. I've always loved to perform. I've performed numerous times throughout my life, random songs I've made, songs other people have made, and I'm just kind of performing them. I used to perform stand-up comedy. I performed rap battles, theatre. Like, I love performing in front of people. And so I'm going to go and I'm going to do that. And so if you want to kind of follow along with that process, you might want to come out and see me perform live. Again, good investment. You can follow me on Instagram. Again, links are in the description. And I'll make sure to be posting about all the times I'm performing, when I'm performing, where I'm performing. If you would like me to perform in a specific place, location, let me know. Sorry. Let me know. Hit up the Instagram DMs. Follow me on Instagram. And then hit up the Instagram DMs. And we can see what we can do. If you own a establishment that has live music, hit me up. Let me perform. I'll probably do it for free. And yeah, I think that's a big focus, because that's something that I love doing and that I've wanted to do for a really long time. Currently, I only have one song that's really performable, My Time. The other two you can't really perform in front of just random people because they're quite intense. But we can see what we can do. I'm happy to perform, other songs, just covers of songs, I guess. And yeah, I'm really excited to be performing. The other portion of my life, probably the main portion of my life that's going to be happening, is filming this podcast, filming the weekly show, making TikToks, kind of just trying to get something to go viral, get some social traction, up the follow accounts, the go. Again, I'm full of ideas. It's a noggin full of creative ideas. And I think being in this world just every day kind of breeds that, in terms of I'm almost forced to come up with good ideas. Or new ideas, at least. Who knows if they're good. I've kind of spoken about my dreams, or my dream, I guess, of being a famous artist. When I conceptualized this imbarrytoo I don't want to call it a project, life, this imbarrytoo life that I have, a lot of it was about this concept of music that matters, and I even take it a step further. It's music that matters for people who need it the most, which is really near and dear to my heart, because a lot of music that I listen to, it's not just, I'm just going to chuck on a random album and it's going to be enjoyable. It's music that hits home for me, that really is the music that I need in the specific moments that I live. And so that's my idea, is I'm creating music not just for the sake of creating music and making money. It's for people who actually need the music, for people going through specific things. Maybe you're going through depression and you hear a song like Depression and you're like, damn, other people feel the same way? This is crazy. I didn't know this. When you're in the darkest stages of your life, it's really hard to conceptualize other people being in really dark places, or there's any kind of help or reprieve for you. And so a song like Depression, if you chuck it on and you listen to it, you're like, oh my God, this is what it feels like. This is the feeling that I'm having right now, during depression. And so I think that's a core, I know that's a core foundation for what I'm building here with imbarrytoo. And so I want to keep that up. Obviously, if you've kind of gone into the weeds of my musical journey so far, Closet, every $1 that's made from the song Closet is being donated to a charity called -18, which helps the youth of Australia who are questioning their sexuality, or they might be trans, a whole host of different people and types of people and ethnicities and sexualities and things. They -18 help them in whatever capacity they can and whatever capacity they need. So every cent earn from streaming Closet, which you can do basically for free because you already pay for Spotify Premium or Apple Music or wherever. And it all just goes there. So you could just listen to that song a lot, really like it, and you're actually helping people out. You're actually helping the youth of Australia out. So it's kind of like a double whammy for you. You get to listen to a good song and you get to help people out and be doing charity work. The second song, Depression, obviously all of that money is going and being donated to Beyond Blue. So again, it might be a song you don't like, it might be a song you really like. The more you stream it, the more you help people with depression, anxiety, mental health issues, all these sorts of things. You're helping them out. And of course, I'm helping them out. Where collectively, we as a team, you and me are a team, we're helping them out. And I'm kind of the captain of the ship. I'm steering the ship. You have the oar, you're rowing it. I don't. What do ships do? Do we use ships anymore? Do people still go on boats? Is there still captains? Not important. And so that's kind of my like envisionment. Is that a word? That's how I envision this journey to be. Is it's all about helping the people that we can, and music that matters for people who need it the most. I think that's a key thing to take away from this podcast and my journey, and something I need to continue to remember is that we're making music for people who need it the most. Because I was one of those people once. I was really going through some dark times in 2019, and music helped me through that. And so I think it's fundamental to imbarrytoo that we have that as a pillar. I sound like I'm a motivational speaker. A pillar of what we're creating here. We want art, we want creativity, we want enjoyment, but we also need music that matters for people who need it the most. On that note, I think that's going to wrap up this first episode of the podcast. I thank you so much if you've made it this far. You are an unbelievable human. I hope you listen to this probably on 2 times speed. I would recommend you do that for all of my podcasts. Just crank through them on 2 times speed. I am so thankful for you joining me on this podcast. I have loved every second of talking to you, and by you, I mean myself in the viewfinder. I'm really, really, really excited for this journey. I'm also incredibly nervous. Every morning I kind of wake up not dreading, that's not the right word. Every morning I kind of wake up and I'm really anxious and really kind of worried that it's not going to work out and I'm not going to reach my goals. I'm not going to be able to do this and do that. And it does get to me a little bit. It's, taken over in the old brain. But we just got to keep making things. I've just got to keep pushing through. And I've just got to keep making music that matters for people who need it the most. With that being said, again, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed making it. I hope you enjoyed listening and watching and learning a little bit about me and a little bit about this journey. The second episode of the podcast, which will come out next week, we'll be discussing my very first song that I debuted. It's called Closet. We're going to go pretty in depth about that bad boy. So if you really enjoyed that song, or maybe you haven't listened to that song, you should definitely come along and be there for it. You can learn all the little ins and outs, how I made it, a whole bunch of other stories and things and whatever else. I made it a long time ago, like 7 months ago now. So we're going to have to rack the old brain, but I can do that during the week, and I'll come with all the knowledge and all the things that I learn about making it and whatever else. And it's just going to be a really good old time. We might talk about what I did that week or what I am planning on doing or anything. Anything we see, we're going to get it going. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, like the video, go and hit the description, hit up my Instagram, hit up my TikTok, follow me on all them, stay in touch, listen to my songs. I literally just gave you 1,000 things of homework for you to do, so hopefully you enjoy. That's due next Thursday. I don't know why I picked that specific day, but that's when your homework is due by, so make sure it's into me then. I want it on my desk, and if you are an excellent student, you also give me an apple, even though I don't really enjoy eating apples because they get stuck in my teeth. I'm rambling. Goodbye. Adios.
one.